Visit the Frontier Restaurant. Due to heavy construction on Central, take lead or coal coming north or south. The Frontier Restaurant. Get your Frontier fix on. Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Hey Lobo fans, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Samantha.
Jaguar Land Rover Albuquerque has been a family-owned business since 1988. The 2017 Jaguar F-Pace has been named the winner of the 2017 World Car of the Year and World Car Design of the Year.
Land Rover's signature terrain response system is flawless against any curveball New Mexico weather can throw at you.
We have a class-leading extended warranty on all Jags and Land Rovers and one of the greatest pre-owned inventories in the state of New Mexico.
Call 505-797-3600 to schedule a test drive.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez. The gang is all here. They were here late last night for the seating and selection show for baseball, and now we are all geared up for the playoffs. But first, we're going to talk a little Lobo men's basketball, as with us right now, we are joined by the brand new head coach for the University of New Mexico Lobos, Paul Weir. And Paul, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I'm going to ask you this. How did it all come about? It seemed like you were very well settled in. You had been at New Mexico State for 9 years as an assistant, 1 year as a head coach. You seemed to have the pieces in place for this coming year. Then all of a sudden your name appeared, and it seemed like in a flash of an instant, a snap of a finger, you were indeed hired.
Yeah, I think things happened pretty quickly. A few days before the hiring, I got a call asking me to interview for the job. I interviewed for the job, and then shortly thereafter, I was offered the job. So I think it was a little later down their process, but you know, obviously for me, it happened pretty suddenly.
One of the things I do know, having worked on Bob Brown's show when New Mexico State came to play Northern New Mexico, we had you on the air, and your mind is working a million miles an hour when it comes to basketball games. You're playing Northern New Mexico, so, you know, on paper, oh, it's, you know, to a lot of people, guaranteed win. Not in your mind. Mm-hmm. You might as well have been playing Kentucky that night, because that's the kind of coach that you are. Sure. And I think, you know, me seeing that on one hand, that I wanted to tell the Lobo fans, they got a treasure in you. At least I think so.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big on attention to detail, you know, going into every day, every practice, every game. And sometimes, you know, when people kind of catch me in those modes, I'm still thinking that way. So there are times I need to kind of get, you know, put my mind in a few, or get my mind out of a few different places at once.
Now, you work with student athletes. How much easier is it to tell the student athlete, oh, I'm a student, because how many degrees do you have? About 15? I mean, you're just you talk about detail. Your degrees are just stunning.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've always just tried to be the best I can be, not only just as a person, but as a coach and a leader of an organization. And I felt that learning and coaching basketball from either the people that I've worked with, my mentors, whoever, was great. But I wanted some additional platforms as well to learn from and just become a better leader. So I've always kind of stuck with formal education. I like to read a lot just to hopefully make myself a better coach. And if it makes an impact, that's great. I can't really tell you if it does or it doesn't, but it's always stimulated my mind and make me look at things in different ways and hopefully made me a better coach.
Coach, you know what? Heck of a season that the Aggies had. 20-game winning streak, losing to Baylor in the first round of the NCAA tournament, had them up at halftime. So I think, you know, you had a heck of a season. There's no question about it. Beat the Lobos here. Now, I got to ask you this. It's probably, you know, they went through a couple of candidates. And for us, as New Mexico Lobo fans, we're glad you're here. Congratulations, welcome. But it was unlikely for, you know, an Aggie coach. For a lot of Lobo fans who were like, you know, Weldon Drew, Ken Hayes, Lou Henson, all the names of the past, Reggie Theus.
Sure.
For me, you know, I remember thinking about it. I'm like, wow. You know, and I told you before we got on board, you know, Lobos and Aggies used to be a real headbanger. And it will be when you go to Las Cruces this year, that's for sure. but Coach, you know, where you are now, 2 months ago, you know, probably didn't think that was a possibility.
Yeah.
So where are you now as far as this revolving, you know, doors kept? Has it stopped for you a little bit, and you've been able to, you know, enjoy or really plan ahead, because you hit the ground running right away. So where are you now as far as the program planning, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, right this second, it's just it's full metal right now. I mean, we're full pedal to the metal right now. It's just going every day. I really haven't slept much or really had a lot of time to think about big picture. It's really been about trying to just assimilate myself into the program, into the players, into the organization, and then find new guys to come in, be it players or staff members, and just try and hit the ground running and get this thing going as quickly as we can. I don't like the word rebuild or having to be patient. I want to be as good as we can now, you know, and that's all I'm really trying to do is put together the best team we can for November.
One of the things that's impressed me about you is you get the job, you're going out to softball games, you're talking with the football team, you're getting engaged, and that's exactly what you were known for down at NMSU.
Sure.
You got a lot of people, you went out to frat houses, you got people to come to games. How much of that are you going to be doing here to just show that you're not only just engaged with the basketball community, but the whole university?
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. I know Paul Krebs brought up Urban Meyer, you know, in his press conference, and when Urban Meyer first got to the University of Florida, he spent a lot of time doing all that, and he felt as though it might have even affected how much he was coaching his current team. But if he had to do it all over again, he would have done the same thing, because he knew that he really needed to get the community involved around the program, make the home game environment special, and that was going to help him build the program that he wanted. I felt the same way 12 months ago, and I feel the same way now, getting into a new position of like trying to just integrate myself into the local community as much as I can to just get people to come to games. That's really what it's about. We've got to make the Pit a special place. And if me doing some of those things endears myself to different parts of the community, then hopefully it does, and hopefully they choose to support us as well.
We talked a little bit off the air, and Paul Weir, the new head coach at the University of New Mexico for the men's basketball team, is our guest. We talked a little off the air about turnover in coaching. You're kind of a rarity, or maybe old school. You were at NMSU for 9 years as an assistant. Assistants usually come and go. You were hunkered down there. You got your opportunity. Now, you said that the phone call came, you had discussions, you interviewed, the whole process worked quickly. At the same time, you invested 10 years at New Mexico State, and all of a sudden, you may not have been looking for a move. Like Ed said, you know, all of a sudden it just may have, presented itself to you. But what went through your mind when the whole process, oh, I got a chance to go to University of New Mexico, what went through your head? Yeah,
you know, I think like a lot of people, I think the initial emotion was surprise, curiosity, just the unusualness of it, you know, no different than probably how you guys felt about it. But as I really kind of reflected on it and thought about it and talked to different people, it just seemed like an amazing move, you know, for me. And it was just something I just couldn't turn down. I think my initial reaction was probably similar to a lot of people's. But then as I really kind of thought about it and processed it, I really felt as though it was a really good move for me.
To me, I think the biggest reason why people might ask that question, because you were there 9 years as an assistant, all of a sudden you get that 1 year, and then Well, he was there 1 year as a head coach. He invested that much time to be a head coach.
Yep.
He leaves, but at the same time, I know what an opportunity you got here.
Yeah, no, it was never something I designed. You know,
Right.
in this profession, jobs come and go quickly, and you have to make decisions pretty quickly.
That's true.
And it just kind of came about. I think it was even a surprise to coaches here that they made a move at the time that they did. So, you know, it just kind of came about. I'm really glad that it did, and I'm really happy to be here.
Coach, you know what? There's a general good, you know, feeling of you coming in at the program. You didn't put on the cherry blazer. I think that endeared you to a lot of people. It really did, because you said I haven't earned it yet, and you know I saw that and I was like, wow, you know. So I think you reaching out and asking people, and what you did at New Mexico State, selling the program. Now in the past, didn't need selling, right? Didn't need it. Talk about the power of the pit, though, because I'll tell you this. You know, I was there when they played Georgetown. I was there in 1976 when they played UNLV with 19,000 there. They never did that again. Of course, seating is not what it used to be. Talk about that, though. That I get goosebumps just thinking about you going down for what Dave Bliss used to call pit games. I just get goosebumps about it because I know we're going to see that. Talk about the power of the pit and what you want to reinstate there.
I mean, I think it's huge. I think it's us. I think it's our brand, you know, and obviously it triggers recruiting, which is probably like the execution part of it, but at the same time, it really brings the community together. I think it's a special place that we can all come together to enjoy basketball, cheer the Lobos, and make it the best team that it can be. I mean, it is a proven fact that volume and attendance impacts winning, you know, and fact's a strong word, but it has been shown in studies that attendance and volume at games impacts referees' decisions in games and impacts winning for the home team. So it's going to help us win, it's going to help us recruit, and it's going to help bring the community together, and that's what I'm really hopeful we can do.
You know what, like I said, I think you saying that, and we've all, you know, Scott was the announcer there, as he mentioned, the Lobo announcer, Lobo voice for 5 years, under probably the most successful coach that we had here was Steve Alford. I was there when Norm Ellenberger was a coach. And back then, holy cow, those media seats were student seats. I remember when they played Syracuse in the Lobo Invitational, Jim Boeheim came in here with Roosevelt Bowie, Marty Burns, and Syracuse beat the Lobos. Michael Cooper was named the MVP, and I still remember Coach Boeheim went crazy. But the pit was, my goodness, what a place. And so I think, boy, you must be looking forward to really coaching, you know, games and many games there and winning and having the fans. And what you're doing already is already helping that. The community, I feel, and again, you've only been here less than a month. I feel is already rallying behind you. I really feel like that.
I appreciate that. We have to win at the end of the day. So, I mean,
that's true.
We're going to do everything we can to at least people get to come try us out for the first time or come watch us play, or people that maybe had been disenfranchised with the program to come back a little bit. And then at that point, it's on me or it's on us to go out and be successful to keep those people coming back. So the pressure's on, and we got to find a way to get it done.
During my tenure, you also, along with Marvin Menzies, came into the pit and beat the Lobos. So you know what it's like for an opponent beating the Lobos in the pit. Now you have to be the one to hold serve. So now you've kind of seen it on one end, now you're going to be on the other, where this is our house.
No question, and it's very important to protect this place. Like I said, I think, you know, just the newness of maybe me or our program might stimulate some interest, might, you know, allow people the opportunity to say, you know what, let me go look at this, let me try this out, let me go back to Lobo games. But then once they get there, it's on us to put the product out there that they want to come back and watch. And that's my job, and that's what I came here to do. I came here to try and, you know, bring those people back, you know, night in and night out, and put the home court advantage where it needs to be.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about your philosophies, some of your players, and your camp coming up. But in the meantime, we're going to take a break right now. We're with head coach at the University of New Mexico for the men's basketball team, Paul Weir, and this is the Sports Desk.
It's a 2-1. And Little could have put this up to left field. And this one gone. It's a 3-run shot by Grant Little. And just like that, Texas Tech right back in it.
swing on the dive, makes the play.
Nice play.
Put a star on that one out and left. Still going back. And he makes a running catch in right center field. What a play by Tatum. Put a star on that one. Yeah.
West Conference play. Who's going to go here? This belted out to center field deep.
I don't know.
Luis Gonzalez all the way at the right. This is hammered to left field. Looking up is Grant Little, and it's gone. A 2-run shot, a 3-run shot. Excuse me, for Carl Stajahan. And it's 11-8. How about the 11th bomb this year for Carl Stajahan? On the fire, and this one is blasted deep to center. All the way back at the wall, and it's a solo shot for Jared Mang, straightaway center. He bombed that baby. And the furthest part of the ballpark, Tom.
Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today. Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico High School athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
And welcome back here to the Sports Desk. Scott Calotti along with Ed Nunez. We're joined by the new head men's basketball coach at the University of New Mexico, Paul Weir. And Paul, first of all, you have 1 year under your belt as a head coach. You're going into basically your second year of head coaching, but you've been around the game a long time. How much did you learn in your long-time relationship with Marvin Menzies? Who I happen to have the utmost respect for.
Yeah, I learned a lot from Marvin, you know, and he gave me an exceptional amount of responsibility. It was part of the reason that, you know, at New Mexico State it was really hard for me to leave when I was an assistant coach, just because he gave me so much autonomy to not only influence the program, but just to grow, you know, as a coach and develop. I really felt that going somewhere else, even if it was a, you know, different program, bigger program, whatever you want to call it, would kind of stunted my development, just because I would have just kind of gone and sat in a box and worked for a coach and things like that. And Marvin gave me so much freedom to kind of go out and learn and be a coach. So I'll forever be indebted to him for the opportunity that he gave me.
What were some of the things that you have learned from him that you have taken into your first year of head coaching that you can now take your first year here at UNM?
You know, the one thing that Marvin and Lou Henson both kind of imparted on me was just the importance of recruiting. You know, I think a lot of coaches will kind of get caught up in a lot of different things. You know, Gino Auriemma says there's two kinds of coaches, the ones that coach great players and ex-coaches. And, you know, Marvin and Lou are both so enthralled with the recruiting component and really kind of stressing the value of it. And just being around them so much, they really kind of imparted that on me of like, you know what, you have to recruit every single day, you know, just trying to find great players.
One of the things that New Mexico State has that maybe some people don't realize or had in the past while you were there were outstanding players. Yeah, Daniel Mellings,
Yep.
You know, the list goes on and some of the great players that you coached and were part of coaching down there.
Yeah.
How similar of a kind of player that you had down at NMSU are you looking for here? Because It's been talked about. You want to press, you want to run, you want to play that high-tempo offense. The Mountain West might be ripe for that, but a lot of question marks come, where's the size, which you were known for at New Mexico State.
Yeah,
so where's the balance there on what you're looking for here compared to there?
Yeah, I mean, I think this past season when I was a head coach at New Mexico State, we transitioned to a much smaller team and really wanted to kind of play that way and kind of get away from maybe that slower pace with a lot of just overbearing size and kind of play a different style.
And you had overbearing size.
We did, you know, and was very successful with it. I'm not trying to pretend that my philosophy is better than anyone else's. It's just mine, and I want to be authentic to me and how I want to play and kind of have the players feel that as well. I don't want them to think that this isn't something I genuinely believe in, and I do. So, you know, I think we're going to be looking for players that fit into that, skilled players that can shoot the basketball and play an up-tempo style, both offensively and defensively, that I embrace.
Coach, I think one of the things is, you mentioned this too before we got on, when I used to officiate basketball, our commissioner would say that it's an ever-changing game. We have to change with it. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, New Mexico ranked UNM 356 out of 319 out of 356 as far as three-point shooting. So, you know, last night, and then we're going to air this Tuesday night, the Rockets, Houston Rockets took 53 pointers and made 22, I believe. So, as you mentioned, this game is still changing. The big man is really, you know, you got to be able to stretch if you're a four. So it looks like you're going to be headed towards that philosophy with guys that can really put the ball in the basket, stretch the floor, up-tempo press, things like that. And I'll tell you one thing, if that's the case, man, I'm already getting goosebumps and the season's, what, 6 months away. But maybe expand on that a little, Coach.
People love that style here, by the way.
Sure, yeah, I think the three-point line is just a real element of the game. I think both offensively and defensively, you know, you have to game plan for it. We took great pride in our three-point percentage defense last year. It was among the best in the country. I think guarding the three-point line is a very important part to your defense. And offensively, making three-point shots can obviously be a very powerful part to your offense. The unique thing about the offensive part is that you need the players to do it. I mean, you can sit here and say you want to make three-point shots or take three-point shots, but they don't become great shots if you don't have guys that can make them at a good clip. So, you know, what we spent a lot of time on here in recruiting is finding guys that can make those shots to give ourselves the balance and even just the ability to become an offensive team that can utilize the three-point line, and then defensively, you know, do the right things to take away the three-point shot there as well.
Paul, we're the head coach of the University of New Mexico men's basketball team, our guest, and you have 11 players right now. You're still on the recruiting trail. Recruits that were coming in for one reason or another aren't coming to UNM. We're not going to mention names, and we're not going to get into all that, but talk a little bit about some of the players that you have right now. You're still looking for that last couple, and you had a couple of practices last week. So how did that go? Who do you like? You know, I don't know if you can really single players out, but what do you like about the guys that you have?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've never really liked singling players out. I really want them and us to just do.
I just realized that, so that's why I kind of backed off on that.
Yeah, no, and look, there's going to be players with great games, and I think we commend them when those happen. I think there's a lot of players that maybe don't do the things that the fans notice, or maybe you notice sometimes, that are just as valuable, and they deserve just as much recognition. You know, there are guys that will be walk-ons or practice players or whatever it may be, and they push us every single day to make those players good. And you know, I don't want our program to be about one particular player or two or three particular players, but just really about our team and just kind of building that kind of environment. I feel very good about the players we've added. I felt that, you know, when I got here, there was a little bit of an imbalance in the roster towards a lot of bigs and not a lot of guards, and I felt that we needed to improve our depth at guard. And I think we've done that, and I think we've added some shooting. And I think it just kind of fits how I want to play or how we want our style to be going forward. It's nothing, you know, negative about maybe the team that was here before me or where they're going to go. That was their team. That was their style. I'm just different. I'm not necessarily better. I just have a different way of doing it. I have great respect for the program that was here before me, the coaches that came before me, and how they ran their team. I just have now my own way of doing it, and I'm going to embrace it and try and find 13 guys who are going to do the exact same thing.
Kind of a quick glance last week, but what did you see in those workouts?
You know, I think those were really kind of like mutual workouts where they got to know a little bit about me and I got to know a little bit about them. It's obviously a different style of practice, of teaching. philosophy, you know, and they need to kind of see that themselves, especially the returners, to kind of see where they may or may not fit, so that we can have more productive discussions going forward about their role and their future, you know, with Lobo basketball. And then obviously knowing who we have bringing in, kind of supplementing that as well, so that these guys really know exactly where they stand in the program. It's been a very difficult time for them. I'm very sensitive to change. I understand what they've gone through. They came here to be Lobo basketball players, and I want to show appreciation for that. But I also want to be able to, you know, really educate them on what they're about to expect, so that they know what they're getting into as well.
Any kind of workout program that you have designed for them? You had speed training, I believe it was last week, with the current crop of Lobos. And again, they were recruited by another coach. Some of them may not fit your philosophy later on down the line, but for right now, you mentioned you're sensitive to change, and that's good that you are, because they have been, you know, it's tougher. I've been through coaching changes. I've seen them here, as far as, you know, when Coach Colson left, Coach Bliss, and new players, they don't know, you don't know how they're going to adjust to your philosophy and to you as a communicator.
Exactly.
Overall, though, I thought that the meeting, after the first meeting you had, they seemed to be pretty enthused and excited. And do you still feel that same excitement after a couple of weeks with them? I know it's early.
Yeah, I mean, I think each relationship, you know, with each player is kind of independent of the next. So, you know, I think, you know, my relationship with you might have hit off right away, and we're very connected. And my relationship with you, it just might take a little bit more time, you know, just for us to get to know each other. I think we all have our own personalities and differences, and me just getting to understand each individual, and not only as a person but as a player, and just seeing how good of a fit that may be, you know. And I think some players kind of saw it right away and maybe thought good fit or not good fit, and then same thing with me as well. So, you know, inevitably it becomes a mutual relationship. I'm obviously the boss, I make the decisions, but I don't really want it to necessarily be that stratified. I still want us to kind of be working on this together, especially in this interim period of change. I think once we get to the summer school session in June, and we've made all the final decisions on the roster and returners and recruits and things like that, then we can really start to implement some things structurally that we want. But for now, it is a little bit of like a nebulous period where we are still trying to work through some things. And I think I just want to come to the right decision on each kid. And the only way to do that is to be patient and work through this and educate them, and they educate me, and then inevitably, hopefully, we come to the right decision for both of us.
Paul Weir, the head men's basketball coach at the University of New Mexico, our guest here on the Sports Desk. And Coach, a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. Number one, what is your time frame for filling out your assistants? And I know that there's a deadline for June to make sure who wants to be here, but in terms of recruiting, you know, what kind of timeline do you put? Because that's kind of sensitive. Sometimes you rush into things. Sometimes a recruit might come into your lap. I don't know what your philosophy is on that. But, I mean, you're in a position, you need players.
Yeah, you're so right. It's a question I ask, or we ask as a staff every single day. You know, do we want to take this player right now? Do we want to hold out a little bit to see if we can get something better as the offseason progresses? Or do we want to wait to just see if we can get better in 2018? You know, my ultimate goal is to be the best team we can be on the second Friday in November. That's my goal. So, you know, if that means that I think right now there's a kid we can take that would make us good then we'll do it. If I feel like maybe we have to roll the dice a little bit and take a little chance later in the summer, then we'll do that too. I wish I had an exact answer for you. I don't. It's a little bit of poker. It's a little bit of a guessing game where you have to kind of, you know, estimate some things, and that's what we're in the business of doing right now.
And that's where your experience comes in, because you're not just a guy who, I don't know how to recruit. You've been doing this a long time.
No question, and especially just recruiting to this region. You know, inevitably, you're not really recruiting directly regionally here. You're recruiting all over the country and all over the world, and, you know, having that kind of a network really helps you kind of assess the supply and the demand of different things, and then when you want to inevitably pull the trigger on someone.
You got a camp coming up. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're doing a few different camps. We're actually doing a day camp for kids, which I think they've always kind of done here. And I just started them last year, actually, at New Mexico State for the first time in a while, just to really engage the kids in our community, bring as many kids into our program as we possibly can, make them feel a part of it. We're doing a team camp where we bring as many high school teams in as we can from all over the region, really. We've got a team from Indiana that's committed, some teams from Arizona that's committed, so I don't want it to just be all the local teams. I want them to kind of get a really good experience as well. And then we're going to add an elite camp, and really my goal behind that is to bring as many in-state kids to the pit as possible so that they can get their eyes on us and we can get their eyes on them. And I really want to make this team as state-oriented as possible and get as many kids from not only Albuquerque but the state area to our campus, to our institution. Does that mean we're going to take every single kid from the state that it has to offer? Of course not. But it does allow us to at least have very honest conversations with these kids about who we would want, who maybe we don't want, but can help find other areas to go to school, and just be kind of a beacon for basketball of the state. And I really want the high school coaches and the high school players to really feel as though, the Lobo basketball program is open to them. And I think by offering an elite camp where we can bring as many of the top kids in the state as we can, we open that door.
I got one thing I want to ask you. In terms of Marvin Menzies, how much do you keep in contact with him? How much did he help you last year?
To be honest with you, last year, Coach Lou Henson was very, very, strong, to me around our program, came to practices a lot. He was there day in and day out. Marvin had his own program to run, had his own messes to deal with. I had my own. I think there are some big picture things or like thematic things you can talk about. But I think when you get into the nuts and bolts of a day, it's really hard to talk to someone else about it when they're not there with you. And I really leaned a lot on my staff and the people around me that were there day to day to kind of give me honest feedback and kind of guide me in the right direction. If there were bigger picture things, I obviously leaned on a lot of people, Marvin obviously being one of them, about getting some thoughts and ideas. But I really feel that the people that are there day in and day out have a much better perspective on dealing with a particular problem or decision at hand.
And now you're going to be a rival with Marvin.
Sure.
Sure, you weren't expecting that one right away.
It'll be fun. I think getting the top of the Mountain West back to where they were is just good for basketball for all of us. I think I cheer on those teams to bring them to the top because inevitably it rises all of us to the top. Even New Mexico State having success helps us as well. I think all of our teams down in this region, the better they are, the better it is for everybody.
Coach, what I know, again, it's early. We haven't played any games yet. But there's just a real good feeling about the direction that you want to take the Lobos in. And I get it too. Sometimes directions go awry.
Sure.
But we sure wish you the best of luck. I'll tell you that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time. Now, I don't think anyone has to tell you, go get back to work.
No question. I need to.
Do you get any sleep lately?
Not much.
Not much. I didn't think so. Well, Paul, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for having me. Paul Weir, the head coach of the University of New Mexico, our guest, and we will come back with more on the Sports Desk.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan-favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill.
I am never getting married. Never. Guaranteed.
You picked a beautiful ring.
Thank you. We're never having kids.
Some of it here.
We are never moving to the suburbs. We are never getting one of those. We're never having another kid.
I'm pregnant.
I'm never letting go.
For all the nevers in life, talk to State Farm agent Michelle Rudolph or Marty Size in Albuquerque.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Sure, you could get him a new car. You could also light a pile of money on fire. So maintaining this old car is your best option. Keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how.
Altitude Sports Grill is where Albuquerque's sports fans won't miss a game. With locally crafted brews on tap and refreshingly crisp cocktails. Located in Hotel Cascada, Albuquerque residents find a staycation worth staying for. Catching Lobo sports, enjoying a beer on the beach, or wiping out, Hotel Cascada is home to your urban adventure. Affordable guest rooms, no-hassle water park parties, and much more.
For
55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Los Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Los Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez. Our thanks to the new head men's basketball coach at the University of New Mexico, Paul Weir. And I'll tell you, when you talk to someone, it's easy to get a first impression one way or another. He's lights out when it comes to just showing personality and exuding what he wants to do.
I don't know that, I've seen a lot of Lobo coaches come and go, and we mentioned Norm Ellenberger, flamboyant, charismatic. He was all that. Gary Colson had a personality. And I got to say, for all the coaches that I've been through here, now Steve Alford was more reserved. He's a great coach, though. There's no doubt about the coaching. But as far as personality and charisma, this guy is loaded 100% with it. And when you talk to him and he tells you his goals and how he's selling the program, God, I got goosebumps. Honestly, I did, because I thought, man, I can't wait to see him coaching a game in the pit, in the pit behind him. Now, look, he's right. You have to win. You know how it is here. You have to win. But right now, there's a feel-good-itis, if you will, about him being in charge. I don't know how you couldn't feel good about the things that he says, the way he says he wants to do things, he wants to communicate, and even if he has a problem with the player, he wants to have the best solution for that player and him. Now, a lot of coaches, he may say that and things don't always work out the way you want. That's true. But I tell you what, I'm 110% impressed with that guy. And I can't wait till the season starts, although, it used to be that we'd wait till, the football team lost one game and then we'd say when is basketball season. That's not the case anymore. Right. I want to make sure the football season goes through and then we'll be ready for basketball.
Well, here's one of the things that's impressive also is that he knows the Mountain West Conference. They've played home-and-home series against Colorado State at least, so he knows what kind of style his team is going to be in for.
Yeah, no question. And you asked him some good questions about Coach Menzies, and he coached under Marvin Menzies. I'm telling you this. Look, I hope he stays here for 10, 15 years. Bill's a winner. This kind of guy here who keeps climbing steps. He's going for his doctorates. This is a guy that he's energetic, compassionate. Has a full of passion for Lobo basketball, and he hasn't even been here a month. So you kind of can't wait to see what the product's going to be. Although the players that he has now, he had speed training with them last week. We don't know if they fit his philosophy. They may not. You mentioned that when we said how many players are going to be staying, and you'd mentioned that. Yeah,
and there's some things that we could ask him, and if he doesn't totally answer, it's understandable, because what he's got right now, Ed, is a work in progress.
Absolutely.
And he's behind the 8 ball, even though realistically it's about the time where coaching changes happen, but his was at the tail end of what a lot of people here, even though in reality it wasn't that long, a lot of people here thought that search took a long time, and he came in at the tail end. The minute his name became reality, he was hired.
I think one of the things that surprised me, and I think it surprised you, is they mentioned a couple of candidates. One was supposedly going to be the Lobo coach that Saturday, and I waited, and you waited, and I was hosting 610 that Saturday, I believe, and I was really kind of like, okay, what's going on? Is there going to be a press conference? And then there wasn't. And then when I heard Coach Weir's name mentioned, there was a lot of reaction from me at first. I'm like, and I did tell you that, an Aggie, it just seems so foreign.
Right.
But I'll tell you one thing, that tells you that you can't always just put people in a box that they're Aggies or Cowboys or Eagles or whatever, and just say that you dismiss them. Case in point right there. The guy that we had, that guy is impressive, man. Now, if he wins, we don't know. Right. But I'll tell you what, I'm already excited about the season, and we're a long way away.
Well, here's the thing I thought about asking, and then I laid off. It's like, no, you don't ask someone that. you know, he may not have been the 5th, 6th, he might have been the 10th choice. But you know what? He's treating himself and he's treating this job like he was the first choice. Yeah. And you've seen that, I've seen that from the second his name was mentioned as the official head coach.
You know what, and you're right. Okay, at the press conference, and I mentioned that, he didn't put on the cherry blazer. I've got to earn that. You know how many Lobo fans said, look, it's just a change. Craig Neal's not here anymore. Craig Neal's gone. But I got to say this, that Coach Weir has come in with a totally different attitude as far as, you know, selling himself, selling the program, and being humble and saying, we've got a long way to go, but here's what I'm trying to do, making it a we instead of a me.
Right.
And, you know, so far, and again, remember, you know how this, you know, how Albuquerque is, we both know it. You know, everything's fine until you lose a 98-97 game in double overtime.
I didn't want to scare him away, so
knows.
We'll ask him those questions next time maybe, but didn't want to scare him away.
I'll tell you what, look.
He knows.
Yeah, oh yeah. You know what, he also spent a year as the head of basketball operations at Iowa with Craig Neal and Steve Alford. So I'm sure he learned even in a year's time. But I got to say this, now this game's a long way away. I may go down to Las Cruces for that game when we play. So I may. I've never been down there. I've never been to the Pan Am Center. Never.
That surprises me.
No, you know, all the years as a Lobo fan.
It's a great atmosphere when the two teams play each other.
Yeah,
I'm
you know
not
what?
sure if it's a good atmosphere all the time, but when the Lobos and Aggies, my 5 years of experience tells me that was the game of the year, both here and there, because that was their biggest crowd. And it wasn't the biggest crowd here, it was just a sellout, because back then the Lobos were selling out most of their games, and the Aggies were one of them. But it's a great atmosphere when the two teams get together because you feel the rivalry regardless of which building you're in.
Well, you might not even get a ticket. You know, you really may not, because when they go down there, you know, the Aggie fans are going to be at full throat. There's no question. Full throat. It hasn't been like that for a long time. I meant to
ask him, too, because I brought up that he went to frat houses, he went to different places to get Aggie fans to go to the games. Now those same fans that he recruited are going to be booing him when he goes down there the next time around.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's a definite change of scenery because, again, they won 20 games in a row. He had a heck of a season over there, and I think one of the things that really, you know, intrigued me about what he said was about the philosophy about the three-point shooting, but more importantly, the three-point defense. The Lobos struggled with their three-point defense for 2 years now, maybe 3. And, you know, Craig Neal, again, you know, he did his job, he's gone. But we've got something, what we said earlier, and we said this about a month ago, was renewed optimism for the program. And, you know, Bob Davie came in and, look, he's won 16 games in 2 years. The program is definitely on the right track. I don't think the football program I'm talking about. And so everyone's wondering when, you know, again, do people expect big things from Coach Weir? Absolutely. He only has to win the Mountain West and get us to the Sweet 16 in 2 years. There's no those, which we've never been to.
2 years? Those fans will want it next year.
You're right. Of course they do. You know, I'm just trying to be a little bit realistic because that probably won't happen next year. But with the guys he's bringing in here, the 2 scores that he's bringing in already, I'm already like, gosh, okay, so offensively, they're going to gear it up, and they're going to press, and they're going to do
the man
run and
knows
gun.
how to recruit, and even if he's not going to be the head recruiter and he puts that to his chief assistant, the man knows how to get players, and that's what I kind of alluded to in the questioning. You know, he knows what he's looking for, and he knows where to get it. And the thing that he has the advantage of coming from New Mexico State, like he said, recruiting the region and recruiting all over the place because you know, you move from south to north, you're still in New Mexico. So you're recruiting kids from wherever to come to the state of New Mexico. Well, now they're coming to the Pit instead of the Pan Am Center, which still is a great building. Maybe not the same atmosphere, but it used to be under Neil McCarthy. But right now, maybe not the same atmosphere. But you're recruiting kids to come to New Mexico. He knows how to do that.
Well, you know, if you look at it, you're absolutely right about that. He does know how to do that. But the Aggies have had some success in the tournament where the Lobos haven't. So let's remember that. The last couple of years, Marvin Menzies did a pretty good job over there before Coach Weir. But if you look what the Lobos chose here. They chose a young, charismatic, 37-year-old guy who doesn't feel like he's done learning. Still is going for his doctorates. You know, he wants to bring Lobo basketball.
I almost feel like he feels like he's beginning to learn.
Right.
That's what's refreshing about him.
You know what? There wasn't,
because he doesn't come in thinking he has all the answers. He's learning them on the fly.
There wasn't any arrogance or cockiness there. It's very humble. It's very humble, and again, it's quite a change. And Lobo fans are, you know, the ones that I've talked to, I know you've talked to a lot of Lobo fans as well, love him, already love him. You know, we forgot.
And I've talked to a bunch of fans like yourself who you and I talk quite a bit online. We text message, we instant message and all that stuff. You know, I know a bunch of friends of mine who are Lobo fans who had the same sentiment that you did. They hired an Aggie, what the heck are they doing? And those same people are on board now.
Right.
And all it took was like what's it been, 2-3 weeks that he's been here?
That's how much he sold himself
and
the program.
Yeah,
what did he say? The funny thing that he said to us was that the Lobos had called him at 4 p.m. and it took him till 11 p.m. to call back. So he had the same feeling.
Right.
But, you know, I think Coach Weir is the kind of guy, again, fair, empathetic, compassionate, passionate about Lobo basketball, passionate about what he does. So I think no matter where he's at and he's here now, he's going to succeed in what he does, man. I really believe that.
Speaking of succeeding, big baseball series over the weekend, New Mexico and San Diego State. The Lobos get shut out in the first game 4-0. They come back and hammer San Diego State in the second game, and they're down. It's a back-and-forth game. Jared Mang with 2 big home runs in that game, and they end up winning that series. Why is it big? Because the Lobos have 2 fewer games, technically 1 fewer game because of a rainout. 1 game that they didn't get a win or a loss, they got a tie. So basically that's a half game in the standings that they have. And it's an opportunity for the Lobos to, if they can win out or maybe only falter 1 time, San Diego State has to catch them 3 times. So they've got 3 games in hand now. That series was huge, and Jared Mang was huge, and he was the player of the week in the Mountain West this past week. He came up big on Sunday.
I'm kind of surprised that they got shut out because they have been breaking out the whooping sticks lately. Of course, you and I talked about the game against Texas Tech last week when they beat Tech on Tuesday night, and then the next day is a 4-hour and 29-minute game where Texas Tech scores 27 runs.
I thought they were still playing.
Yeah, I do PA once in a while for the Lobos,
Right.
and I'll tell you what, 3 hours the night before with the 60-minute rain delay was bad enough, and I thought 4 hours and 29 minutes, wow. You know, that's a long time. But the Lobos, Coach Birmingham, we'll talk more, I'm sure, after the break, has talked about a letdown, and hopefully the Lobos, we won't see that. They've been playing very, very well.
We'll talk about that. We'll also get you caught up on all the high school brackets here coming up on the Sports Desk.
Visit the Frontier Restaurant. Due to heavy construction on Central, take lead or coal coming north or south. The Frontier Restaurant. Get your Frontier fix on. Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Hey Lobo fans, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Samantha.
Jaguar Land Rover Albuquerque has been a family-owned business since 1988. The 2017 Jaguar F-Pace has been named the winner of the 2017 World Car of the Year and World Car Design of the Year.
Land Rover's signature terrain response system is flawless against any curveball New Mexico weather can throw at you.
We have a class-leading extended warranty on all Jags and Land Rovers and one of the greatest pre-owned inventories in the state of New Mexico.
Call 505-797-3600 to schedule a test drive.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez. Our thanks once again to new head men's basketball coach at the University of New Mexico, Paul Weir. We have Alden Ioane, our director. We have our crew here, and we're glad to have you along here on Comcast 26 and on Proview Networks. Let's get right at it. We're going to talk a little bit about baseball. The selection seating show was well into the morning last night as NMAA decided to break out late brackets, and let's look at 3A right now. We'll look at the bracket for 3A, and in 3A, you're going to see some interesting matchup here as you got Texaco and Loveling, Pecos Tularosa, Laguna Acoma McCurdy, Raton Eunice. That's just one side of the bracket.
Well, yeah, they're right, and you got Dexter and Zuni, and you got. And I'll tell you what, Adam Deal and the guys did a great job last night because they were waiting to get the brackets, to get the information out. So as usual.
Hurry and wait.
Yeah, that's right. Alden Ioane, Josh Brown, Jay Pohl, they did a great job in keeping everything together.
Well, look how nice the bracket looks. I mean, these brackets look very, very sweet. Now we'll take a look at some of the schedules, not in bracket form, but just so we can get through these quickly. We'll take a look at 4A, and there you see East Mountain against #1 seed Hope Christian at the top.
East Mountain snuck in at the 16, and Hope. We've been watching that 4A, rankings and standings all year, and Hope has maintained the #1 ranking all year. And I believe Portales is #2, if I'm right. Yeah, they are. So that hasn't changed much there at the top. So you see the matchups there, and there's some pretty good ones there. Sandia Prep, they've had some success the last couple of years. They're there against Taos at #5, so that should be a good first-round matchup as well.
How about this one? The bottom of the bracket is #3 St. Mike's against Cobre. And Cobre, a team that has won some championships, they're no stranger to winning.
No, they're not. Adam Deal mentioned St. Mike's last night, though, 22-10 on the year, I believe.
Yeah, they've played well this season.
The Horsemen have had a pretty good season as well.
Yes, they have. Let's go to 5A now, and pretty much the same thing, some very interesting matchups. How about Alamogordo, the #1 seed?
Wow, you know what? They're going to take on the 16 seed Bloomfield, and you mentioned that. Look at Berlin and St. Pius at #3. St. Pius has had a pretty solid season. The Academy was ranked, I thought #2, so they slipped to #4, and they've got Grant. So, again, some great matchups there in the 5A field.
Miyamura Farmington, Santa Teresa Aztec. Aztec, another team that knows a little bit about winning.
Oh, yeah. They've definitely had their share of success, no question.
And Academy and Grants, that's a very interesting matchup. You mentioned the Academy going back and forth. They were, I think, as low as 5, as high as 2.
And dropped to #4 at the end of the year. They lost to St. Pius. I believe that's why they dropped.
And St. Pius raised itself to #3 because they were as low as 8 at one time, and then they were #5. And now at #3.
I think they swept a doubleheader this weekend, I think.
Right.
And St. Pius and Academy,
but they've moved themselves up the rank.
Right. Yeah, Coach Hilton's done a great job over there.
Because at one point, they were nowhere near the top 4.
And, again, playing themselves into that #3 spot with the doubleheader sweep of the Academy. It may not have been Saturday because the weather wasn't conducive. It might have been, I don't know when it was, but it was recently.
And #2, Goddard, a very, very good team. They want to get back to that top mantle.
Yeah, you know what? And they've got, Goddard and Roswell. Ooh, man, what a first-round matchup that is.
I like the way you say that, and that's a good reaction because, it doesn't matter what sport. When you see Roswell.
Oh, man. You know what? When you go down the road, it's like when we said the Aggies and Lobos. You don't want to lose to your crosstown rival.
Right. Exactly. And now let's go to 6A. And by the way, best of 3 series in the first round. Then it's single elimination after that. And you've got Bloomfield, Alamogordo. Wow, Alden Ioane with a new touch. He's showing us the time and putting on a dance and everything. It's very entertaining.
He's much more talented than people would believe. Let me tell you.
So 6A now is what we're going to go at, and there you go. La Cueva #1. They've kept that top spot pretty much all season long. Very tough Oñate team is on the other side of the bracket for them.
Snuck in at #16, but one team I want to talk about real quick are the Albuquerque High Bulldogs' first title in 34 years. Coach, and the way they did it was in dramatic fashion. Tied up at 7, and the bottom of the 7th, they get a 2-run homer walk-off to win the district title. And Coach Robert Padilla, who used to coach softball there at Albuquerque High and went to baseball. I mean, you imagine what a moment that was for Albuquerque High. Again, you know, we know about their basketball success. They've had a little bit of success in football, but it's been 30 since 1983 when they won a district title. So hats off to the Bulldogs, man.
And their prize is they get to go to defending champion Carlsbad, and Atrisco Heritage, the team that mounted that comeback only to lose, they go to number 3 Piedra Vista.
And we mentioned, you know, Piedra Vista. I talked to somebody from the Four Corners area this weekend, and you know, he lives in Scottsdale, where I was in Scottsdale, and he's mentioning how well Piedra Vista has played in their first year in 6A, and he's not wrong. They have played well. Yeah,
the big question was, would they make that transition from being world beaters on 6A? They may not be at that stage yet, but they have definitely competed, and competed well in a very tough district.
Yeah, no question. That's a loaded district there.
Loaded is right.
I wonder, Atrisco Heritage, they played well. They were undefeated in district at one time, and they kind of faltered there at the end. They're number 14, so I wonder if head coach Chris Trujillo going down to Piedra Vista, what's the mood of the team? Because, you know, you got to forget about it. You lost a walk-off game for district. You got to forget about it and move on. So I don't know what the mood of the team is.
Looking at this, you've got 4 teams in that district. You got Volcano Vista. You got number 2 Cleveland. Adam Deal mentioned number 8 Rio Rancho got a home game. So you got all these teams, 4 teams from one district getting the home games.
Boy, that's important, I'll tell you what. So, yeah, a lot of interesting matchups in that 6A bracket, no question.
How do you like the format? Because softball, totally different. When we have the selection seating next week, we'll go over softball because they don't actually start playing until the 10th. They go right into quarters, and then they have semis and finals. From what I understand, only 12 teams now will be in softball, but baseball still 16. You play that 2 out of 3, and then it's single elimination after that. How tough is it, the 2 out of 3? Because one team can have a great pitcher, but then once you get to the next guy, might not be so great, so the other team may have a chance. And then you get to the single elimination in the quarters, semis, and finals, where you know, anything can happen.
Well, you know, I think it's good. The point you bring up there, and it's a good one. Carlsbad is the defending champion, and I'm just going to bring up one series because, you know, you made me think about that. Number 14, Atrisco Heritage against number 5, Carlsbad. Now, you've got Trevor Rogers. You'll throw him, but what about the next 2 starters? So I think that's a valid point, and they're on pitch counts anyway, right?
Right.
Okay, so Trevor Rogers, you would figure.
It used to be number of days. Now it's number of pitches.
So Trevor Rogers, you would probably think in that first round game against Atrisco, the kid's almost throws 95 with movement. Right. You know, I mean, he's an opposing figure. So you would think that they're going to win the opening game. Now, what happens, and this is just one series we're talking about, but what happens after that, again, when you go to the second and third starters, I think is your point.
Right.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
But that's the whole reason why they did the 2 out of 3 in the first round, to eliminate the disadvantage of that one team having the major ringer, and basically it's all over. That gives the other teams a little bit of a chance. Now, I'm a guy who would like to see a best 2 out of 3 championship series as opposed to 2 out of 3 first round, but that's me.
You know what? I don't think, I think, you know, you got something there, but of course with the NMAA and costs and time and, you know, paying, they will never do that.
But the 2 out of 3 in the first round is actually pretty clever because a lot of states don't do it. New Mexico has.
No, you're right. So there's, I think there's, again, we mentioned there's going to be some very interesting matchups there.
Final minute, Ed, your thoughts?
Well, you know what, I'm glad, Scott, thank you for getting Coach Weir to come on the show. I know we've been trying to do that for a couple of weeks now, and I thought
then we had to make it to a point where you were going to be able to join, because I told you that was an interview I wanted you to be a part of.
I'll tell you what, I know the guys had him on the Red Menace, and they did a great job with that interview, and I've heard him on 610, and I'll tell you what, I've got again, we talked about renewed optimism. I've got goosebumps, and the season's, again, 6-8 months away. I can't wait.
So, speaking of can't wait, lots of baseball action, track and field going on here on Proview Networks and Comcast Channel 26. Some Lobo games, replays coming on, and should be a good time as you can watch the replays of the Texas Tech series. All 4.5 hours of one game.
Oh, yeah, thank God I wasn't a PA for that one, because I always think about 4 hours, and I mean, after the game, it's tough because you can't go to the bathroom, you got to wait.
Lobo fans are lucky this year. Some of the games are actually shorter than in the past, so you know, take that to the bank. That's a good sign.
No, you're right.
Over 3 hours is a lot better than an average of 3.5.
No, you're right about that. So yeah, God.
And Ray's got a great team going, and now they're in first place. Opportunity to win out and host the Mountain West tournament. Want to thank all the Sheila Niawani and company for directing the show. For my partner, Ed Nunez, I'm Scott Coletti. We will talk to you next week on the Sports Desk.